before you scroll, what if I told you you've already lived before, and something from that life is still controlling you? Do you believe that you have lived before, not as a story, not as something you were told to believe, but as something real, something quiet, something that may already be shaping your life? Right now, what if the things you love without knowing why, the places that feel strangely familiar, the people you trust instantly without reason, are not random at all? What if all of those feelings are simply echoes from a life you no longer remember? This is the story of a man who didn't always believe in reincarnation. In fact, at the beginning, the idea felt strange, almost impossible to accept. This story was shared by Alexander Berzin, a Western scholar who spent years studying Buddhism. And one day, someone asked him a very simple question. Do you believe in rebirth? A simple question, but his answer was anything but simple. He didn't say yes right away. There was no sudden enlightenment, no dramatic moment, no sign from the sky, because for someone raised in the West, the idea of rebirth doesn't come naturally, unlike many Asian cultures, where children grow up hearing stories of past lives and accept them without question. He had to struggle with it, and then he realized something deeply important. I don't actually understand what rebirth is. That realization changed everything, because many people reject reincarnation, not because it's false, but because they misunderstand it. Some imagine a soul with wings, moving from one body to another. But even in Buddhism, that idea is rejected. There is no simple soul traveling from place to place. Instead, the concept is far more subtle, more complex, and deeply connected to mind and energy. So instead of rejecting it, he made a different choice. He chose to remain open, and that decision would lead him to experiences he never thought were possible. In Tibetan Buddhism, there exists a very unique system, a system that challenges everything we think we know about life and death. It is believed that certain highly realized practitioners do not simply die. They choose their next rebirth. These individuals are known as tulkus, reincarnated masters who return to continue their work. They are not ordinary teachers. They are not simply respected monks. They are beings who, according to tradition, have developed their minds so deeply that even death does not break their continuity. Many of them are given the title Rinpoche, a word that means something precious, something deeply valuable. But here's something important. Not every Rinpoche is a reincarnation, and not every Lama is the same kind of teacher, because even the word Lama can carry different meanings. In some traditions, it refers to a highly realized spiritual master. In others, it can simply describe a monk who has completed certain levels of training. So, how do they know? How can anyone possibly recognize that a child is the rebirth of someone who has passed away? It's not based on blind belief. It's not based on faith alone. It is based on something much more grounded, evidence, When a great master passes away, his close students and attendants begin a search, not for a replacement, but for him. They travel, they investigate, they follow signs, visions, and sometimes even instructions left behind before death. And when they find a possible child, the testing begins. They bring objects, items that belonged to the master in his previous life, and they mix them with similar objects. Then they place them in front of the child. No hints, no guidance, no explanation, and they watch. If the child can correctly identify which objects were his from a life he should not remember, that becomes a powerful sign. But sometimes the signs go far beyond that. Because what if a child didn't just recognize objects? What if they recognized people? What if they spoke words or languages they were never taught? What if they behaved in ways that no one could explain? And what if this wasn't witnessed by one person, but by thousands? At that point, you are no longer dealing with belief. You are facing something that demands to be questioned, something that doesn't fit into the usual rules of how we understand reality. And among all the stories, there is one that changed everything. A story so unusual, so difficult to dismiss, that even the most skeptical minds were forced to pause. There is one story that stands apart from all the others, a story so strange, so precise, that it forces even the most skeptical mind to stop and reconsider. It is the story of a great master known as Ling Rinpoche. He was not just any teacher. He was one of the most respected figures in the Gelug tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And more than that, he was the senior tutor of the 14th Dalai Lama, a man of immense wisdom, a man whose entire life was dedicated to the training of the mind. And then he passed away. According to medical understanding, everything had ended. No breath, no heartbeat. By every scientific definition, he was gone. But what happened next did not follow any known rule, because his body did not behave like a dead body. For nearly 2 weeks, he remained in a deep meditative state. His posture stayed upright. His body showed no signs of decay, and most strangely, there was still a subtle warmth around his heart. Think about that. A body without life, yet not decomposing, still stable, calm, as if something had not fully left. In Tibetan Buddhism, this state is known as a moment, when the subtle consciousness has not yet departed from the body, a state between what we call life and what we call death. And then, after days of stillness, something changed, very gently. His head tilted forward. A small trace of blood appeared from his nose, and in that quiet moment, without drama, without sound, the consciousness was said to have departed. For most people, this alone would already be impossible to explain. But what came next was even more extraordinary, because in this tradition, death is not the end. It is a transition, and for beings like him, it is believed that they do not disappear. They return, not by accident, not randomly, but by choice. So after his passing, the search began, not for someone new, but for him. After his passing, the search began, not for a successor, not for a replacement, but for him, because in this tradition, it is believed that a realized master can choose to return, to continue helping others. And so, they searched for his rebirth. They followed signs. They listened to guidance. They traced possibilities across regions, across lives. And eventually, they found a child, a boy, only 1 year and 9 months old. Think about that for a moment. Too young to understand the world. Too young to follow instructions. Too young to pretend. And yet, what happened next left everyone speechless, because when they brought the child, something felt different. He didn't cry. He didn't panic. He didn't cling to anyone. He didn't behave like a child. Instead, he remained calm, composed, present. They brought him into a large ceremonial hall. Thousands of people were already waiting outside, watching, whispering, expecting something. At the center of it all, this tiny child was placed on a high throne. Now pause for a second and really imagine that a toddler placed above thousands of people, surrounded by noise, strangers, energy he could not possibly understand. Most children would cry. They would struggle. They would try to escape, but not him. He sat, perfectly still, legs crossed, back straight, calm, not for a minute, not for a few moments, but for 1.5 hours. No restlessness, no fear, no confusion, just stillness, just presence. And then the ceremony began. One by one, people approached him. They brought offerings, small Buddha statues, sacred texts, miniature stupas, robes, objects filled with meaning, objects that even adults don't fully understand. Each time, the child received an offering. He used both hands, carefully, respectfully, and then he passed it to the assistant beside him, perfectly, every single time. No hesitation, no mistake. Now ask yourself, who teaches a child that young such precise ritual behavior? Who teaches a toddler to sit in silence for hours in front of thousands of people without fear? And then came the part that no one could explain. And then came the moment that no one could explain. After the ceremony, people began to line up, not a few, not 100, but thousands. They came one by one, waiting patiently for a single moment, a blessing. The child was now held gently in someone's arms, still calm, still silent, still fully present. And then it began. One by one, each person stepped forward, and each time, the child raised his hand, not randomly, not playfully, but in the exact traditional gesture used by great masters to give a blessing, precise, natural, unforced. He didn't hesitate. He didn't look confused. He didn't stop. Person after person, the same movement, the same awareness, the same presence. 2,000 people, 3,000 people, and still he continued. No boredom, no distraction, no sign of fatigue. Complete attention from beginning to end. Think about that. Even adults, trained for years, would struggle to maintain that level of focus. I understand you want me to convert Japanese text from kanji to romaji while preserving hiragana, katakana, and converting numbers to hiragana. However, you've only provided even monks, which appears to be English text, not Japanese text that needs conversion. Could you please provide the Japanese text you'd like me to convert? Would feel tired, would lose rhythm, would drift. But this child did it effortlessly, as if it wasn't something new, as if it was something remembered, something familiar, something he had done before. And maybe you could still say, it's just coincidence. Maybe it's just a rare child. Maybe it's just imagination. But what if this wasn't the only sign? What if this child had already been behaving like a spiritual master long before anyone found him? Because what comes next is the part that truly unsettles people. Now here's the part that truly unsettles people, because everything you've heard so far happened after the child was found, after the ceremony, after people already suspected that he might be someone special. But what if the signs were already there, long before that, before anyone came searching, before anyone believed, before anyone even knew who he might be? At that time, the child wasn't living in a monastery. He wasn't surrounded by monks. He wasn't trained. He wasn't guided. He was living in an orphanage. His mother had passed away shortly after giving birth. His father, too poor to care for both children, had no choice but to send them away. So the child grew up like any other abandoned child. No special treatment, no expectations, no identity, just another life, lost in the crowd. And yet, something strange was happening. The people at the orphanage began to notice it. The way he behaved was different, subtle, quiet, but undeniable. Sometimes he would raise his hand in a gesture that looked exactly like a blessing, not as a game, not as imitation, but as if it was natural, as if his body already knew what to do, as if it wasn't the first time. And then something even more surprising happened. His older brother, just a few years older, said something no one expected. He told the others, "My brother is different. He's a lama, a Rinpoche. Don't treat him like the others." Now stop and really think about that. A child, barely old enough to understand the world, recognizing something that no adult had confirmed yet. No training, no teaching, no influence, and yet he saw it. So now, let's step back and look at everything together. A great master passes away in a state beyond ordinary death. A child is later found who behaves nothing like a normal child. He recognizes ritual without being taught. He blesses thousands without hesitation, and even before being discovered, he was already acting like the person he used to be. At some point, you have to ask yourself, is this coincidence or is this something we simply don't understand yet? Because if this is real, then death might not be the end. At this point, you might still be thinking, maybe this is just one rare case. Maybe it only happens in Tibet. Maybe it's just part of their tradition. And that would be a reasonable conclusion. Because when something feels unfamiliar, we often place it far away. We tell ourselves it belongs to another culture, another belief system, another world. But here's the part that changes everything. Reincarnation is not limited to one place, not limited to one culture, not limited to one belief, because there have been cases that appeared far beyond Tibet, in places where these ideas were never part of daily life, where children were not raised with stories of past lives, where no one was expecting anything unusual, and yet the same patterns appeared. Children, born in completely different environments, who displayed the same signs, the same awareness, the same behaviors, the same continuity. One of the most well-known examples is the case of Lama Oso, recognized as the reincarnation of Lama Thubten Yeshe. But what makes this case extraordinary is not just who he was believed to be. It's where he was born, not in Tibet, not in a monastery, but in Spain, a completely different culture, a completely different world. No exposure to Tibetan rituals, no immersion in Buddhist teachings. And yet, when people who had known Lama Yeshe met this child, something felt undeniable. Not just resemblance, not just similarity, but continuity, as if the same presence had returned. And this is where the story stops being easy to dismiss, because now it's no longer about one place. It's no longer about one tradition. It becomes a question about reality itself. For Alexander Berzin, these were no longer just stories. He had seen enough. He had experienced enough. And slowly, without pressure, without blind belief, he arrived at his answer. For Alexander Berzin, this was no longer just theory. It was no longer something distant. It was something he had seen. He had questioned. He had slowly come to understand. And so, when asked again, "Do you believe in future lives?" this time, his answer was simple: yes, but maybe this story is not here to convince you. Maybe it's not here to tell you what to believe. Maybe it's here to make you pause, to wonder, because if rebirth is real, then nothing in your life is random. Not your fears, not your talents, not the people you meet, not the moments that feel strangely familiar. Everything could be part of something much longer, a journey that didn't begin when you were born and may not end when you die. So the question is no longer, do you believe in reincarnation? The real question is, what are you carrying from a life you don't remember? And if that question made you feel something, even just a little, stay with me, because there are more stories, more pieces, more truths that might change the way you see your life. And now, the question is not whether reincarnation is real. The question is, what are you carrying from a life you don't remember? And if something in this story felt familiar to you, don't ignore it, because sometimes what you feel is not imagination, it's memory. So tell me, have you ever experienced something you couldn't explain, something that felt too real to be random? Leave it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if you want to explore deeper, stay here, because the next story might feel even closer to you.